Hello again. So this is going to be a short video on how to know if you've already met your divine partner, whether that be your masculine or feminine, and that can be like masculine, feminine, or energies. So you could meet your woman and she could be emperor masculine. You could meet your man and he could be empress feminine. And you're both going to learn to go through both. So, and I'll do a separate video about how to know, like if you have not met them, how to know if they are there, or if they're on their way, because it's kind of a slightly different process of recognition. But let's say that either you've already been in some form of long-term relationship with them, or you've been in short-term relationship with them, or you've just begun a relationship with them. And it's interesting to discern. So let's go with the first one. We'll break them down into different steps. If you've been in long-term relationship with the person that you believe is your divine masculine or feminine, then really you need to get to a point to where you have healed enough that you are no longer feeling like you need to receive validation from them, that you have been separate from them, that you have seen their dark side and their light side, and you can stop and be in a calm place and meditate often. Get to a state of nothingness, sort of, and then get to a state of gratitude. And then connect with your inner being. And I'll do some videos on how to do that, but for right now, Abraham Hicks does lots of them. Or go through Eckhart Tolle, or anyone that you like. Get grounded and centered, and listen to your inner being. Listen to your intuition. And I've done some other videos on these topics, but for right now, the basis is your instincts are fear-driven. It's, if I go back to them, I could get hurt, or they're out doing nonsense things. They can't be for me, or it'll take too long, or they're very fear-driven. Your intuition, however, is connected to your inner being, and it's usually not necessarily positive per se, but it doesn't use negatives. It doesn't use like words like not or never or don't. No contractions. It'll be usually a little voice. Your instincts are loud voices in your body, in your mind. Your intuition is a quieter voice that says, talk to this person. It'll be fun. Or go to the park. It might be nice. Or go draw something. Come this way, come this way. Your intuition is connected to your inner being, which is connected to your true heart. Now, you could have a lot of things around you in reality that contradict what you know to be true, including the person that you feel like is your divine partner. They could be wrapped up in a third-party situation, which, if you are on a divine path, you're not going to want to intrude on that. I mean, you're going to have to embrace your darkness, that there is a part of you that would like to, but usually when you're beginning the divine path, you're already at a place where even if you wanted to, you wouldn't. Um, and, but you're going to know. You're going to know that other person's inner being too. You're going to recognize whether or not, like if you were dealing with somebody that was absolutely toxic and never did anything good, and you never had any sort of fun or connection or great memories, and they were never helpful, and like you can look back and look at everything that you did with them and say, it was never my fault and I never participated and all they ever did was hurt me and manipulate me and do all that shit, then that's not them. That's not them. If, however, you feel like when you think about them, you recognize that you both played a part in things, and that you both have healing work to do, and that you know their inner being, you know their true selves. You've seen them when they are not reactive. You've seen them when they are creative, when they are in their childlike joy, when they are not holding on to societal expectations, when their ego is the quieter voice and their true heart is the louder voice. And that is them. That is the real them. And only you will know when you can connect to that place in yourself, whether or not it is them. Now here's the key thing. Even if you know it is them, if you are absolutely sure, 100% with your whole being, that it is them, if you over-focus on them, you will hold them out of place. You will continue to call to you your own karmic lessons about self-worth and self-care and self-support. So even if you know it is them, as I said in the first step of the Divine Feminine journey, stop helping. Stop. And this is for Divine Masculines too, especially any of you who have jumped into karmic situations. Like whether or not you know, whether you feel like your karmic is the one that, like your karmic could be either, well, I mean, everybody's becoming Divine Feminine, Divine Masculine, so your karmic could be compatible with you when they're healed. The question is, you know, I suppose, okay, so we did the first one, like say you've had a tower moment from a long-term relationship. Like that's how you can sit and know, is it them? You know, is there enough safe space in there when things are good? Do you have genuine joy when things are good? And do you feel like if they were to grow, and like let's say you never got an apology, you never got any closure on what happened, you just worked on you, they just worked on them, and then you could come back together again, and you were both self-sufficient, and you were both happy from within first, and treating each other like the cherry on top, the delicious part of life, would you still choose them? If you would, you know, if you would be good with that, and you could genuinely let go of all of the past, and all of the hurt, and all of the need to get even, and get apologies and shit like that, that's probably your divine partner. Now, next scenario, let's say that you've just met your person, somebody that you're dating, and you've been with them, let's say short term, like 3 months, 4 months, enough for the honeymoon, the limerence phase to start to fade a little bit, the infatuation phase, and you're wondering, is this a karmic or is this a divine partner? Again, you're going to have to get to a place where things are quiet within as well as outside of you, and really consider what you've been through, especially in short term. If most of what's been going on is a lot of mess making, let's call it, and you've been put in situation, or well, you've been manifesting, or you're dealing with old momentum of old manifestations to where you are putting into practice things that you've learned in life about how to be a balanced grown-up without being like an adult, you know, or you've learned to be grateful for your partner, or honest where you were dishonest, or to be more thoughtful, to seek consent, to do things like that, and you're with somebody who isn't reciprocating. Either they don't seem like they can hear you, or they don't seem to see the value in it, or like when you've been with them, how do they respond when you talk about things that you want to do for fun? Like, you know, if you really want to go sing at a karaoke bar Do they respond with like, oh no, I could never do that, that's way too scary? Or do they say, that would be awesome, let's go? And do they actually go? Do they encourage you? Do they want to go with you? And if they don't do that, how do you feel about that? Like, it's that, if what your child heart, your true heart wants to do, to have fun, is in contrast to them, could you live with that? If all the forms of just fun for fun's sake were not okay. If you had to put all of that away and you could never play, and you just take on adult experiences and obligations, would you genuinely be good with that? Now, on the other side of that, if you've been through a pleasant honeymoon phase, you still have to get to a point, like, for one thing, if you have not been alone, single, for any amount of time, here's a big key, is this a divine partner or not? If you've not been alone for any amount of time, any significant amount of time, to be able to stop and think for yourself, it's really difficult to know if it's a karmic or a divine partner, because regardless, they're playing the part of a karmic partner, and so are you. So that's the first thing. It's one, even if it seems good at first, you're not going to know really until you have that time for yourself. And Spirit will likely put you in situations, whether through your karmic partner's karma building, or through your own mess making, or just through how things go, you're going to be put in two situations, one where you can't get away from them, and two where they're not there at all. And whether you isolate yourself or get isolated from them, either way, you're going to get that alone time to figure out who you are in that alone time. And it's in those moments that you're going to find out where your thoughts are called to. And if it's to them, and they are pleasant thoughts, or loving thoughts, kind thoughts, it could be them. It really depends, because you got to be able to discern the difference between kind, loving, appreciative thoughts and pity thoughts, victim thoughts. Like, when you think about this person, do you think about them as needing you for survival? Do you think about them as needing you for, like, such a deep amount of emotional support that they might commit suicide if you weren't available? Or do you see them as capable? Do you see them as having valuable standards that don't clash with yours, that encourage yours, that help them care for themselves? And do you feel, especially with a new person, do you feel safe sharing with them your vulnerabilities? Whether that's, it's not just fears. Sometimes fears are easy to share, but I mean like deep fears. Or like, would you be willing to pull out your old baby albums and show them the pictures that your mom took of your poopy butt? Like, I mean, I know that's a crazy thing, but would you? Or would you feel too embarrassed about that? Would you share with them your deepest kinks? Would you share with them, would you be willing to talk with them about your sexual experiences with your past partners? And I mean the good experiences. Would you be willing, are you able to tell them no and feel like it is accepted in a good way? Or does it feel like you can't tell them that without conflict? Or does it feel like even if they don't give you conflict, do you feel tense somewhere when you think about having a boundary, or asking for something, or taking time for yourself? Because regardless of whether or not they're a divine partner for you, because everybody's a divine partner, but whether or not you're in relationship with a divine partner or a karmic, and whether or not you're being divine partner or karmic, you can tell, like, especially for both men and women. Like, for women, the vulnerability is strength. Now, for women, showing vulnerability is being willing to say, I am upset about this thing that you're doing without manipulating, without being passive aggressive, without hinting or being subtle or nagging or trying to use other things to wrap up their time. And no judgment on that. We all go through it, and a lot of us got trained to do it growing up. But it's the ability to say, I'm worthy of being treated better than this. I'm not going to put any ultimatums out there. I'm simply, when you hurt me, I'm not going to play with you. It's not nice, just being that simple, straightforward, like, being loving and kind without dropping your standards and boundaries. Because a lot of times, especially for women, we kind of go all or nothing. It's either like, I can't tell my partner that I don't like it when they do this thing because I judge myself about it. Like, I feel jealous when they're talking to somebody, and so I just need to control them from doing it, and or I need to not tell them because they won't want to stay with me if they find out that I am insecure. And then on the other side, we let it build up so much because likely they continue doing it and don't know that we don't like it because we're doing the nothing thing. Like, I'm just going to be pleasant and cheerful and do all this stuff and they'll just love me and stay with me, but it's not sustainable because it's not authentic. We're not being authentic. And then on the other side, we tend to blow up, either passive aggressively, or we take it out on the kids, or we don't do the things that we committed to doing for them or around the house. And things like that, and then we blow up about it, and then we scare them. We scare them, then they don't feel like they can have conversations with us, especially if there are feelings involved or things of that nature, and then we kind of create that self-fulfilling prophecy. So, if you feel, whether masculine or feminine, if you feel like you can say stuff to your partner, like, I'm observing feelings of jealousy, and I don't need you to change what you're doing necessarily. I'm just speaking it out loud. I'm owning it. If there's a way that we could have some healthy boundaries around this, that would be great. If not, I'm gonna work on me for a little bit while you work that out. Like, if you feel like you're in a place where you can say that to somebody, and you don't expect them to jump up and do anything, you're not waiting on their validation to feel better, but you feel like they would do something, and it would be a healthy balance. Like, if they like talking to this person, they're not going to just drop them because you said you don't like it, but they're going to talk with you about it. They're going to understand how you feel, or try to find a good, healthy middle ground. And they're going to be honest with you. If you feel like you can say, hey, I'm noticing that there's an emotional link between you and this person, or you an old person, new person, whatever, or say it's their job, like say they're being workaholics about things, and you're like, I would really love to have some fun with you, and I feel like the best way for that is if we had, we could share lunches, or we could enjoy your days off, or things like that, and you feel like they would totally love that and they would dig that, and you can say that to them, then that's, that's a safety thing. If you could tell them, you could tell them about fears that you've had, like, this is a hard one to discern on here, because you want to be able to tell them, there's a double thing, you want to be able to tell them anything, and know simultaneously that they're not going to just drop everything because you said you were unhappy about something, and yet also see that they do care, and that they will consider it, and that they genuinely hold space for it. That they're, like, if you feel like you can tell your partner, I have a fear about this, it reminds me of something that happened in an old relationship, or that happened with my parents growing up, or to my parents when they were growing up, and I feel it triggering me, and you feel like they can sit there and they can say, you know what, I really appreciate that you're willing to tell me that. And they can hold space and say, in a gentle, kind way, like, how can I help you heal that trigger? Rather than, let me stop doing everything that I'm doing and I'll stop talking to everybody that I've ever known and had a joyful experience with, or I'm not going to flirt with somebody else, or let me just delete everything that's ever meant anything to me and hide it all away, because that's not healthy. But if they can stop and say, I can see that this is difficult for you and this seems like something that needs to be healed, and I care genuinely about you and I want to help heal that. Let's explore it. Where does that come from? You know, what can we do to heal that? And not just, you know, how can I change myself to make you happy? And you're going to see that, well, in any of the situations, whether it's somebody that you've known and been involved with for a long time, whether it's somebody that you've just barely gotten into relationship with, or, you know, somebody that, I'm going to say somebody you've been in relationship with, that things seem, well, I don't know that it's necessarily a third situation in that. In either situation, you know, if you feel safe being vulnerable with them, like genuinely safe, because you got to get to a point where you are vulnerable with everybody anyways, because that actually tells you who's a divine match for you and who's not. And it's a karmic lesson too, to be authentic with everybody and not to take it personally when you run into people who are either afraid of your authenticity or who are triggered by it. But when you are in the presence of somebody who is a divine partner versus a karmic, you can tell, because a divine partner will evolve. They will reflect you for one thing, and they will evolve. A karmic or even a divine partner playing, you know, not playing, but in a karmic stage, will they will reflect your journey, and usually, say my phone's getting a little blurry. Usually, it'll start out that whoever's in the divine feminine energy will start to intentionally change the energy when they focus on themselves. And then that will be reflected usually in the divine masculine. And oftentimes he won't quite know it yet because his journey starts in deeper ego. Like both are working on ego stuff, but because divine feminine, whether man or woman, deals more with intuition, it tends to be more about codependency than it is about ego necessarily. Now, I've rambled on for this for a while. I think my final thoughts on it are going to simply be, you can tell if somebody is your divine partner, a soulmate, a twin flame, by how you feel deep within about them when you are in a state of gratitude. Not because of another person, not because you got lucky, not because you just had a great day at work, but when you intentionally get into a state of gratitude, or when you search within and you feel like something is missing, you know, and you work to heal that so that you don't feel that anything is missing, and you still think of them. And you see signs everywhere, synchronicities that remind you of them. They reach out at just the oddest times when you happen to be thinking about them or need them, and then later it becomes they reach out to you when you weren't thinking about them. In good times, like you were just happy doing something else completely irrelevant, and they start reaching out. Anybody that you feel like you need to cling to, either to support yourself or support them, is likely in karmic energy, and so are you. So if you're not sure if it's them or somebody else, get to a point where you feel worthy and like you feel confident that anybody that you come across, that they're neither the victim or the villain, that you are neither the victim or the villain, that you don't confuse the difference between pity and love, that you recognize we're all on our own journeys, and there's no reason to force anybody to go at a faster pace or to slow down or any of that. And you feel good about who you are. Connect with your inner being and listen to it. Look at the synchronicities. Look where they lead you back to. Oftentimes, a divine partner, if you're at least middle-aged or older, oftentimes there's somebody that keeps coming back into your life. And, and it's a bit of a difference. Like, you might have karmics that come back and reoccur. And karmic challenges too, dietary issues, physical issues, legal issues, income issues. Like, karmics aren't just people, but they're reoccurring. Karmics can be reoccurring for you, but a divine partner, whether soulmate or twin flame, or I like to say shadow walker, they keep coming back, but kind of at different times. Like, karmic energy, whether a person, a situation, or a thing, tends to come back at the worst possible moments, whereas divine partners tend to come in right when you need them, or you see them when you need them, or you see synchronicities in a moment when you needed it, or a thought pops in when you need it, or you have dreams of them that are pleasant. I don't know. I'll have to do some more videos on this. Right now, this one's gotten quite long. It's really something that you're going to learn as you continue on this journey. But the basis of this is, whether or not it's them, you have to be willing and open to multiple avenues of things happening for you. You have to get to a point where you recognize that it's this and something better. There was say this or something better, or if you're more comfortable with it, this and something just as wonderful. You have to be, because if you continue to focus on it's them, it's them, it's them, it's them, it's them, you actually make them not it. Whereas if you find a place of faith within yourself, that you know that in the end, it's them, and you can be comfortable whether that is them as friend, or them as union partner, matrimonial partner, them as business partner, family member, whatever it is. Like, you have to be to a point of self-worth to where you don't fear life without them. Where you can actually ask yourself, if I could do anything in the world, right? If I was happy on my own, if I had house and money and kids were all happy, and I was doing work that I absolutely loved, would this person be the cherry on top? Would they add value to my life and fun, lots of fun? Would I feel safe sharing with them all the things that I love and all the things that I fear, and know that I will be uplifted with it? Would you know that you would be able to uplift yourself anyways, and that having them there would just be even, be that vanilla ice cream on the apple pie? Because once you can get to that point of self-worth and really ask yourself that, that's when you can know if it's them. So at this point in this journey, anybody, whether masculine, feminine, or karmic, who's asking, is this the one? If you're asking that question, you're not focused on the right thing just yet. If you feel like in your whole entire being that it is them, then just say that it's them. And then focus on you. And stop, you're not going to stop focusing on them right away. And actually, the way to get there is to recognize you're going to obsess about them a little bit. Just don't judge yourself. Start putting together your toolkit of friends you can talk to who are cool with you being in that state a little bit, and start putting together lists of things that you would work on for yourself anyways, and get more and more aligned with those things. And the more you get aligned with those things, the more you'll see Does their energy come back in? Do they reflect what you're doing? As you improve yourself, do they improve themselves? As you heal something in yourself, do they heal something in themselves? You'll see it. You'll know it. You'll reflect each other. But you're not going to get there if you're focused constantly on, is it them? Is it them? Am I wasting my time? Am I fooling myself? Am I going to get hurt again? Don't go there. Just don't go there. Don't go there at all. I mean, you're gonna for a minute, so I guess go there. Let you have your Phoenix moment, and then just relax and work on you. Because only when you work on you, and you no longer need them for anything, can you allow them to come back in. And then you know it's them, for sure. But until then, if you feel like it's them, then just have faith that it's them. And if you have doubt that it's them, or you question, is it them, is it this other person, is it somebody I haven't met yet, then just leave it open. Leave the option open. Anyways, I'm going to cut this here. Let me know if anybody has any specific questions, or if a shorter, pithier video with bullet points would be better. Otherwise, I'm going to assume that this video is awesome, and I will see y'all in the next video.